If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel for more content. The link is in the description.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast. Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. We have had a bizarre time, and we are going to tell you about some of that stuff here in a moment. But we have a very extra special episode tonight. As you can see, we are joined by the Bigfoot Society's Jeremiah Byron.
Hey, how's it going?
And we are stoked to have you with us tonight, man. It is going to be an awesome episode. We finally pulled off the hat trick.
We did.
Finally happened. It finally happened.
Jeremiah's had all of us on his show
For sure.
individually, and now here we are all together wrapping it up. And this is huge. So thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure to be on here. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Absolutely. So we're gonna skim through the news, man, because we want to get to the interview, and we want to talk about some of the really cool people we met this weekend. So Ron, give us a little bit of some wild and weird news that we got going on. I know something crazy happened this week.
Yeah, we had a report that this thing was coming down, and boy, did it come down. Thanks to our field correspondent once more. Brandon stands out as being the scoop, who brought in a really powerful link, which has most of the 1,500 pages of documents that were released, which one of them is making a lot of grounds right now, and that's the biological effects on humans in exposure to UAPs and UFO technology. There's a lot more than that, though. There's tons of these things, and we're going to be going over them. And I said from day one, we didn't know they were real at first. But and that came out a day later. We had confirmation of that, and it's like, holy crap, these are real, dude.
Yeah,
these are real. And
Yeah.
If they're not real, it's the best disinformation I think I have ever seen. I mean, blows Roswell out of the water, that's for sure, if it's not real. But I think it's real. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but
looking at the documents, if they're fake, they're the realest fake documents I've ever seen.
This is so I told you before I hadn't heard about this, but I think I actually saw a snippet of this on like Jeremy Corbell's Instagram where he's
he did break it.
This is
yes.
This is
I refer to Jeremy Corbell as UFO hottie. So
he's kind of got that Fonzie look. He's got that like the bouffant hair and that very manicured beard. But you can tell that this report caught him off guard because he was not perfectly manicured when he did his video.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot. It's a lot, guys.
It's a lot to process, and it's so much to process that honestly, we are going to do a full in-depth episode on this. And here's the thing. I know we've got UFOs coming up for a couple of times here in the next couple episodes, but you know what? It's just the way it is. This has to be done. And we have to look at some of this stuff really deep because this is the changing UFO history. And if you go back and listen to our phases of disclosure, we said that it was happening in phases. And I honestly believe this is one of possibly the last phases before the final phase, which is, as I've always said, open or official acknowledgement of contact.
Wow. That's kind of heavy, guys. So in lighter news, another breaking news story that came out this week was an asteroid actually did in fact kill a whole bunch of dinosaurs, and not just killed a bunch of them, but apparently it was pretty brutal because there were chunks of dinosaurs that were found amongst the meteorite fragment. So,
Right. Yeah.
so yay for dino chunks. I guess the poor guy got blasted. He was right in the impact zone, but
He was the one.
yeah, he was the lucky one that didn't have to live through the winter, the geographical destruction of the planet. So, guys, we went, and Ron and I we went, and we were part of a small paranormal event this past weekend, and we met some absolutely amazing people.
Oh man, we met people who will change our lives forever.
We really did. And one of those is Dr. Chris Sumner. She is one part of the Soul Sisters Paranormal Research Group. Fantastic human being. One of the coolest people that we've got to hang out and speak with in a long time. And we're working on getting her in for Wild and Weird Con for 2023. And it's going to be awesome. Then we got to meet with Russ Bailey. Russ Bailey's a podcast host. He hung out with us for a long time, and he actually shared a very personal story with Ron on stage with the audience. So
yeah, it's really, really cool.
So that was awesome. But the highlight, not to diminish the experiences and the opportunities to sit and talk to these folks and spend some time with them, but the highlight was meeting Travis Orednik, owner of the Deep End Antique Store. And apparently the I don't know if a friend, owner, not quite owner, caretaker is a good word, of the Ovnik.
Yes, of the Ovnik. My new favorite extra dimensional pet is the Ovnik.
It's wild.
Okay,
it is so bizarre. Like, I saw this thing with my own two eyes.
Yeah, you guys know I've seen weird stuff, right? And another one, I get to check another box, but this time I wasn't by myself.
Yeah.
You guys have a bad habit of giving an excruciating lack of detail when it comes to stuff. It drives me crazy.
We're getting there. We're going to do it.
You're just sitting here
people
with
to
your
come back and
inside
listen
conversation. Just
so
okay.
So the
what's
Deep
the,
End,
what's the
we're actually going to be interviewing Travis. Travis is going to come on the show, and
yes,
Jessi, that is another place we're taking you.
Okay.
The next time you and Joe come to West Virginia, we are going to the Deep End, and we're gonna try to introduce you to the Ovnik, because this thing is a freaking trip.
Okay, so for the people who don't know what the heck we're talking about,
because we didn't
had
know.
No idea. Let's be real. I've heard of the story.
99.9% of people.
Yes, I heard of the story because of Teresa from Teresa's haunted. Yeah, her and
haunted history.
Yes,
haunted history of the Tri-State.
Yes, and Teresa wrote the story when they were up there. Her and SRI were up there, and they were investigating, and they ran into this creature, and it was called the Ovnik. And basically, it was kind of like a ghost cat kind of thing, right? And I'm like, well, that's weird. You know, if anyone else would have wrote it, I'd been like, I don't know, but everything on the table. But we know Teresa.
Yeah, we do. We know Teresa pretty well.
And when she says, I saw this thing, I'm like, okay.
Because she's not one of the paranormal researchers that, like, a lot of people expect. Not everything she knows. She's really good, and not everything's a ghost. Not everything's, paranormal. And when she says it's unexplainable, that means she put it through the ringer to try every way to explain it.
Yeah. So the Ovnik is this little Slavic creature, is what it is. It's like a cat, but it's not a cat. It's like a cat with really, really, really sharp little pointy teeth and really big eyes. And it moves incredibly fast. Oh yeah. And they're all male, by the way.
Yeah,
and
they're all male.
And they move extremely fast. And you do not ever want to piss one off.
Yeah, because apparently it's slashed somebody's tires before. In Slavic culture, In Slavic culture, they're known for burning people's barns down.
Well, if there's issues, yeah.
Yeah, if there's issues.
Yeah.
And but wow, like actually seeing this thing, like I was just.
And no, we weren't hoaxed. We weren't pranked.
No.
This was real. I saw it twice. He saw it once. And I think he said, what did he say? There's like 40 people now that have seen this thing. Over 40. We were over 40 at this point that have actually seen the OVNIC.
So we're going to go ahead. It's time. Enough of this. Travis is coming on for a full episode. So let's get into
is the OVNIC coming on? Is the OVNIC coming on for a full episode? Is the question?
Well, I hope so.
I don't know, man.
That'd be awesome. Special guest, the OVNIC. I mean, if he films it in that store, there's a very good chance like you might see something move behind him.
Sure.
I haven't checked the footage fully, so.
Okay, awesome. We're going to review that for sure. Well, guys, Jeremiah Byron.
That's the news, right?
That's the news.
Okay.
Jeremiah Byron, Bigfoot Society, joins us tonight. Like we said, we were so excited to have you on, man. Thanks for joining the show.
Totally, guys.
So tell us a little bit about you, man. You've heard about all the goofiness we've been doing the last few days. Let's hear your story. I want to know where you got started here with your podcast, and
all right,
where your story starts, man.
So it started a few years ago. Let's see. It's a weird story with all sorts of twists and turns. But the best place to start it, though, is, of course, when I used to work at I'll just say I used to work for Apple at a retail store. And me and my buddies, we were into weird stuff because everyone there is usually into weird stuff, right? And we heard about this festival that was going on like 20 minutes away, the Van Meter Visitor Festival, and we're like, oh man, we had no idea there's like a cryptid in our home area. So we ended up going to that, and my buddy Andrew was involved with the filming of the interviews for Terror in the Skies, and I was becoming a pretty big I was into Small Town Monsters, and he was like, hey dude, do you want to go with me to just watch it happen, the interviews? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Seeing behind the scenes stuff. And we were filming them in Des Moines the same morning of the festival. And so I get there, and when I get there, Andrew's like, hey, I actually need someone to be the guy who comes up with questions to ask them off screen to kind of guide the interview. And so he's like, I want you to hit this, and this, but kind of make up your own stuff on the fly. And I was like, this is totally out of like anything I've ever done. And I was like, okay. I had like 5 minutes to not prepare, right? And it's people like Chad Lewis, who's literally wrote the book of the Van Meter Visitor. Steve Ward, who's really involved with that festival. Also, he's heavily involved with the Mothman Festival as well. So through that process, I was like, wow, I really enjoy this interviewing thing. And after that, I want to say it was after that, I got the Anchor app, and literally, if you listen to the first Bigfoot Society episodes, it's me talking into my phone in my basement, or in the car in downtown Des Moines, talking into my phone like a crazy person. And then about a few episodes in, it transitions into actual interviews. But a lot of people are like, you got to keep the early ones on there so we can see where you come from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, I've almost taken those off a lot of times, because I know that there's got to be like people that only listen to them, and they're like, this guy is nuts. And maybe I am. So that was a few years ago. And then it really kicked off, though, as most cryptid podcasts did when the pandemic started, and we all got, kind of just hanging out in our houses, and hey, everyone's available to talk to you because they're hanging out in their house too. And so I just decided, I really enjoy this. I decided to go for it, and really had I mean, I think I'm up to like almost 120 episodes now, and I feel so blessed to be able to talk to the people I have. And what I do, Bigfoot Society, is a podcast where I'm talking to people that are somehow related to the field of cryptozoology. I've talked to all three of you separately, of course, which have been amazing episodes, I think, in my opinion. And but I've also talked to people like Cliff Barrickman, Evan B. Stone, and Brian C. Weed from Destination Truth and Expedition X, Expedition Unknown. And also people like Keep On Creeping On, Liz Pavlovic, artists as well. Authors, I try to, or even newer researchers to like, I just interviewed Mike Casey, is the last episode I did, who's a newer researcher in Eastern Washington, a Bigfoot researcher. He's a great guy. It's been a really fun adventure so far. I grew up where I would watch, it's like 2 or 3 years into this, and I finally was like, I was talking to my dad yesterday, and I was like, about the whole podcast thing, right? And he's like, because like I'm from New England originally, so like out there we don't really talk about stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, about the podcast thing, and he was like, yeah, your sister told me. I guess it's my fault, right? And I was like, it was totally your fault, because you showed me In Search of Bigfoot when I was like 7 years old and blew my mind with the whole Patterson Gimlin footage. And he's like, all right, cool. If you want the weird books I got, you can have them. And I'm like, dude, yeah, totally.
Yes, please.
Bring them my way. He's got like these old school like legends of the White Mountains of New Hampshire and stuff like that. And so
that is awesome.
Yeah. So then as a little kid, I was into it. Then I kind of, like Mark Madsky has this, I believe he has a similar story where like in his, he falls away from it, and then as an adult, like comes back into it. The whole like fan meter visitor thing drew me back in, and then just decided to go for it full steam ahead, man. So things are crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, there were so many of us that did kind of get the upstart because what took place in 2020.
Totally.
As awful and just ridiculous as things were,
I agree.
There was a lot of us that kind of came out of that era, that time, that made what we're doing now. Because we kind of shared a similar story with you there.
It was the year of the podcast.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It was.
That was the only positive thing about it. It was the year of the podcast. So
everybody had time on their hands, and they had nothing to do.
It was time at last.
I mean,
you got it.
It was one of those things like where, for example, the Bigfoot track casts that we got.
Oh yeah,
those we wouldn't have got those the first set. That wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for what was going on, because I mean, I wouldn't have been available.
Well, they'd have been trampled probably too.
Yeah, they'd have been trampled by people, because the parks at the time, even everybody thought the parks were closed, but the parks weren't. It was just the bathrooms that were closed.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
No, there were some parks closed. Trust me, I tried to get in them. I know it was ridiculous.
Huh? They wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be. They were.
But so what's been like your big goal? Because your podcast is growing, your YouTube's growing, you've got everything going. What are your goals? What's the vision for Bigfoot Society in the future?
So it's weird, Joe, because it's changed over time. Like I first started it, my main goal was like, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, man, like these interviews are cool, but like they're not asking that's another reason why I started, was like, they're not asking the questions that I would want to. Yeah. I was like, no one needs to give me permission to do this. I can just go for it. And then it just kind of really got bigger. So it started as that. And then I really enjoy building community, and I noticed that it turned into something that was a lot bigger than that. And there's been a lot of really cool stories where people have sent me messages, and they've been like, Hey, dude, I just wanted to say that, listening to your interviews have helped me through some really, really dark times. And like,
It's awesome.
yeah, which, I'm speechless as to how to respond to that. But I'm thankful that something like an interview podcast was able to keep people going through this really tough time. And, that alone is huge.
So what we're looking at here is
Yeah.
you're looking for a Bigfoot talk show that's like Oprah. That's what I'm hearing. Is that what you're looking for, a daytime TV spot? And that's
So,
the goal.
The main goal right now is like, I really want, so number one, it's like to go full time is like the goal, right? For everyone. I think everyone wants to do this full time. Right now it's a part-time thing. To keep creating a community. And I feel like I've, through things like I set up the cryptozoology community on Clubhouse, and there were a lot of amazing relationships that have come out of that, or like, things like Patreon. And like the next level for me is a big goal that I'll be doing this year is like going to CryptidCon, being able to go to an actual cryptid festival in person besides Van Meter Visitor Festival. Oh man, this is tricky because it's like, yes, there are bigger goals, and I'm kind
This
of
is
like
the
a
time
guy
to
where
dream, man.
I'm scared because I'm like I am
Um,
very scared to breathe certain things into existence.
Well,
If you
100%.
don't, they won't. And I learned that recently. We have to dare to actually say what we want.
For
Once
sure.
we
Yeah.
do, those things can happen. I don't know if it's the quantum reality or what, but I'm telling you, speak it.
All right.
So
So
speak it, brother. Speak it.
I think it would be really
Welcome
cool
to the cult.
for one. And I'm still working on like what it would be, but it would be really cool to come out with a book of some sorts. There's a few ideas I have in my head that I'm trying to work through, and I think that would be really cool. Maybe even down the road, creating a some sort of gathering in person. There's not a besides the Van Meter Visitor Festival, there's not a lot of like cryptozoology based gatherings in Iowa, and like that's where we are. We're in central Iowa, and I think it would be really cool to uh to create something, but also help out the economy of whatever small town it would be in as well, which you guys are all about. You know what I'm talking about.
We
And
can help you,
yeah.
man. We can
Yep.
we can give you the blueprint, man, because
Yeah.
You see, I
we've
just
got
told
her
you,
down
speak
at
it and it
this
would
point.
happen. So
So-
yeah, you've got your connection.
So there's some big goals that are starting to come up, especially as I realize more and more like this is becoming a bigger thing, and I do want to go towards this full time, and give it 110%. But yeah, it's and also have some fun along the way, and meet a lot of cool people. So
Do you ever plan on doing field investigations?
Jess, that is such a good question. That is a really good question. And do you know how many people? So I've had so many invitations.
I bet. Yeah, for sure.
I've had, and I won't like say specific names, but I've been invited to areas in the Olympic Peninsula, the around Mount Hood area, Bluff Creek area, Oklahoma area, a lot of stuff. And the trick is that this thing doesn't pay the bills yet, so I can't
Jet
just
set.
drop and go. And it's like, so the cool so I can like I hope this doesn't come across as plugging, but like this is do you mind
plug
if I
away,
talk?
man. Plug.
All right, cool.
That's why we got you, man.
As I grow up as I grow the community through like Patreon, which is support, like
Mhm.
as I reach certain levels, like I'll be adding more festivals in, and eventually when I'm full time, like that's when the full team will be like, yeah, uh, meaning me and my wife, because
Sure.
we're a team, right, with Bigfoot Society, and like at that point, like add on like trips and maybe traveling to different cryptozoology themed sites as a family, making media off of that, but also like maybe myself being able to go out and hang out with Tate Tate Hieronymus in the Bluff Creek area, which I've been invited multiple times to that. Someday, Tate, it'll happen. So
It'll happen.
yeah.
So I've got a fun little Tate story that connects me to, in a really wild way, to the Bluff Creek area.
Okay.
Tate bought some of our keychains
a
few years back, and I think it's been about close to 3 years ago. And he actually took the miniature copy of the Patty cast that I made, and he pressed it into the sandbar there where Patty walked.
Yep.
And made himself his own little miniature plaster cast with the gray sand and everything. That's right there in the creek. So that to me, that's so cool that I've got some weird minor connection now to Bluff Creek.
That's awesome. I love that. That is so cool.
But yeah, man, that's awesome. Hopefully you can get that point soon, and you're able to get out there and we can hang out on the road a whole lot more.
Dude, I'm excited to. Are all three of you going to be at Crypticon?
Oh, most likely,
right,
yeah.
Jess?
Yeah. So I'm excited to meet all of you there for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite interview that you've done so far, and why is it your favorite? And if you have anybody else in mind coming up.
Because we're going to call them first.
My favorite one. Oh man. Oh yeah. One that I like. Let's see. What is one? I really like so I'll start with this. I've never had an interview that at the end I'm like, I did not like that interview and that was terrible, which is really cool. I've had some that have started bumpy, but like usually by 10 minutes in, it's like party time. I really liked the Mark Mersell one. That was a really fun chat. I would say definitely Mark Mersell was a fun one. He's just, I don't know if you talked to him, but he's such a fun guy.
Yeah, we had Mark on the show a while back, and Wayne got him on the show for us, and it was just an absolute blast. It was a great show.
Nice guy. He's probably one of the most down to earth, nicest dudes in the field. Which there's a lot of those, but he's a top guy for sure. Yeah. Jessi, please forgive me. Can you repeat the rest of your question?
Just do you have anyone coming up, or that is that you're really excited about, or is that still under wraps?
No, I can. I'll hold on. Let me look.
He's opening the calendar.
I always feel like really nervous talking about upcoming guests, but it's like whatever, because I'm like, oh, someone's gonna snipe him. And I will talk directly to whoever's listening right now. If you are sniping people, then shame on you, and I'll get you somehow. No, I'm just kidding. There's not a lot of people in this field, so everyone's gonna like. There was one time when I had me and Alex Petikoff had. Oh, it was the guy from Bigfoot Mapping Project. He was like on 3 different podcasts the same week, but like it, it's just me being funny. Let's see. Some people. Oh, I've got David Ellis is going to be a fun one. That's in June.
That'll be a good one.
I'm looking forward to. Actually, I've got a fun one coming up. John Hickenbottom. This one kind of came out of nowhere. He's a Patreon member, but he's also forgive me, John. I believe a field naturalist in Salt Fork.
Yep, he's at Salt Fork.
Yep. So I am really, and he's actually, I believe he has a few videos on YouTube about Bigfoot with Ohio DNR.
Yeah,
So
he
I'm looking forward to talking
did.
to
I
him.
think there's 3 videos. It's a 3-video
Yep.
series he did. I got to meet him last year at OBC. And here in West Virginia, I work as or I was at the time. I was a master naturalist here, and he works as a field naturalist. So I saw him there, and we talked a little bit, talked shop, and it was like how it's kind of neat that we're both into Bigfoot.
Nice.
We're both working for the DNRs.
Nice. I've got Micah Hanks. I'm looking forward to. He's going to be coming up in May. The most the craziest one, which is have you ever heard of the team Liminal Earth from Seattle area?
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to talking to those guys because I don't know if you guys are into TikTok or not, but their TikTok account is wild and
Yes.
So they're into all sorts of weird stuff, but I'm really looking forward to talking to those guys about the cryptid that it's like a giant shrimp, the shrimpy out of I think Bremerton, Washington, that they've researched, and then he also has this Bigfoot call that he is made out of a gourd vegetable, a dried gourd vegetable. So it's very unique, kind of fun. It'll be a very fun episode interview, and I'm definitely looking forward to that one a ton. So,
well, let's talk Bigfoot, man.
All right.
We've got the podcast covered. Everybody knows you. You
Yeah.
Obviously most people, if you're listening to Wild and Weird Radio, you're probably listening to Bigfoot Society too. So it's
You better be.
Yeah, or you better
Next
be. So let's talk some Bigfoot, man. What was it? I know you mentioned your dad showing you the In Search Of.
Yeah.
But beyond that part, what was it that kind of got you really, really into Bigfoot?
What got me really, really into it? Oh man, that is a super, super good question. Besides watching that video, what got me back into it?
It is a tough one because this is something that we've all got that in common, right? Everybody's seen the PG film, everybody's seen that stuff.
Oh yeah, I got it.
You know,
about that time, it would have been a lot of it had to do with the small town monsters media that started coming out, and I've always been really fascinated with. So I grew up and my dad was, you could say, he's a kind of a naturalist in a way. And so we would spend a ton of time going out in the woods of western central Massachusetts, the area where it intersects with Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. And we would go out and we'd be doing animal calls and then, tracking a lot in the winter. And we would do a ton of hiking together of the Appalachian Trail. And it's just that, it helps me recapture that feeling you have as a little kid where you're there's something in the woods, but you don't know what it is. And especially in a time where it's everyone thinks you can find all information on the internet. But once you find out, hey, there's a huge likelihood that there is something out there in the woods that we haven't discovered yet. And that kind of reawakens something that most people maybe think that we last had as, pioneers or Lewis and Clark's weird stuff like that. And it's there's something out there. And then for me, when I see stuff like the Olympic Project and with the Bigfoot nest, it's oh man, let's go. This is huge. And yeah, the Finding Bigfoot probably had something to do with it too, but I think it was before Finding Bigfoot that that helped a little bit though. Yeah.
So with Bigfoot aside, do you believe in, I know you mentioned you went to the Van Meter Visitor Festival.
Yeah.
Do you believe in any other cryptids? Or are you just open to other cryptids? Or are you more a solid Bigfoot guy?
Yeah. So I'll start with this. So the name has gotten me in so much trouble over the years because it's like, so full disclosure, it was named Bigfoot Society because I remember when I first came up with it, I was like, I want it to be a cryptozoology themed podcast, but it's like, I also have to be smart with keywords. And I'm like, that's what most people are searching for. And the other weird thing is, like, a lot of my episodes do have to do with Bigfoot, so it works out. So I am definitely, open to, I view cryptozoology as, the pursuit of undiscovered animals. So like I believe in stuff like, let's see, I'll say I believe in the existence of Bigfoot. I do believe in the Van Meter visitor, like it was some, winged creature. I don't think it was a bird or a bat. I think it was like some like pterosaur type thing. There are some cryptids though, where like some of the newer ones, and this is not me saying like if you believe in this stuff you're wrong, but like
It's okay. We tell people
We
that all the
have.
time.
okay, you tell people that.
There's a whole
I
episode
try to be
dedicated
nice-
to it.
I try to be
Yes.
nice about it, but
You're fine. You're fine.
there's stuff where it's like the rake. I'm like, dude, that was made up on the internet.
It's made
You're
up.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
come on, so yeah, there are some like that one where I'm like, okay, that's a creepy story, but yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yep.
I'm not buying it.
Those are called not
Excuse me.
cryptids, by the
Yeah,
way.
right.
Not
Is
cryptids.
it called like creepypasta stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Mothman. Yeah, I believe in that. I think.
Oh, you better believe in Mothman.
Oh, I know, right?
'Cause he
I will
believes in
make a
you,
phone
bud.
call.
now.
I'll make a phone call right now.
So,
Men
just
in Black's
because
going to show up at your house.
I've talked to people directly from the Midwest that have had interesting stories. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just
There's some weird stuff, right? I mean, that's all you can really say about it because your logic says no. But then you talk to so many people and it's like, come on, they don't know this other person. I mean, and they all have this little, hints of this is the same thing. They're just telling it differently.
exactly, Ron, and that's one of the big reasons that I believe in big. It's like, okay, there's so many reports across the U.S. There's so many similarities. These people are not all just hanging out in a chat room and being like, okay, make sure we're all hoaxing the same way, guys. And like, it's like, it's too many.
Yeah.
Too many, it's.
Well, that and some are, these are older witnesses sometimes who are just starting to come out and tell their story. They don't know this stuff. That's the crazy thing.
They have nothing to gain by telling their story.
So, do you think that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, or something supernatural, or is something kind of in between?
It's such a good question. And the fun thing about my podcast is like, I have all types on. So like, I talk to like everyone from like Shane Corson to Ron Moorhead, like the totally opposite ends of the spectrum. What I feel personally is I feel that we're looking at like an undiscovered gray ape in the North American woods. And my main thing for that is, I really like what the Olympic Project is doing. And I talk about this all the time. It's that those nests and how they had the, primatologists from the zoos come up and they're like, hey dudes, these are the same things that our gorillas are making. And like, that to me tells me there's something going on out there. That's the proof that I need. But yeah, so to me, it's tricky because I am definitely of the flesh and blood. We're looking at an undiscovered great ape. Some animals can do some weird stuff, so I'm not saying like, I feel really, I don't want to be the guy that's like, yeah, Bigfoot can't like do this, and then in the future it's like, hey buddy, and if I have to say I'm wrong, that's fine. But yeah, I'm not on the team where it's like, Bigfoot is going through portals on Skinwalker Ranch and like stuff like that. Although, man, I've heard some crazy stories where it's like Bigfoot's controlling orbs and stuff. And
Yeah.
But I don't know how to explain away the whole orb thing. I'll tell you that. But, if I had to jump into a camp, I would say, yeah, it's some form of undiscovered great ape. And it is totally makes sense in the Pacific Northwest. So.
Yeah. So like that philosophy, there's so many people that have that philosophy, and then there's I know we've talked about it a lot here. There's I think that we all kind of set in the camp as far as what with the three of us, that there's far more than one weird thing in the woods, and that some of it gets attributed to Bigfoot, and it
or
might not,
Dogman
or
whatever.
Dogman, or Mothman, or whatever it could be. And there's these lights in the woods. There's too many lights in the woods for there to not be something actually going on. What that is, I can't put a finger on.
And it comes up it comes up in Bigfoot lore. It comes up in Pukwudgie lore.
It does.
It comes up in is it Brown Mountain?
Yes.
Brown Mountain Lights.
Brown Mountain Lights.
That kept coming up to me in from my TikTok audience, and they're like, talk about that, and I was like, I've never heard about this, and I looked into it, and it's like, wild, dude. It's such a crazy
It's funny
thing.
that you mentioned Brown Mountain, because we were actually invited last night to come and research the Brown Mountain Lights.
Synchronicity time. What up?
Synchronicity. Hell yeah.
Let me check what time it is. I'll bet it's like 10:10.
It's 10:08.
No,
You're
it's
close.
10:08. Oh, I was close.
It's off, Ron.
See that?
Whoa.
Oh, and look, if you take 10:08 and you add 2 minutes to it, what do you got?
10:10.
10:10.
Thank you, Jess.
Oh man, this is good.
Yeah, the great thing about the Brown Mountain Lights is it's not something that it happens so often that if you go up there a couple of times, you're almost guaranteed to see them occur.
Wow.
Because it just happens all the time. So, and there's actually like certain weather conditions and certain times that you can go up there, and times of the year and times of the month that you can go up there that you're more likely to see them. So that's something that is a phenomenon that is constantly just happening. And so I think if there's, and there's been people on, I think there was a guy who did a show where he like went over there and tried to find the source of the lights, and it was actually kind of a cool show to watch. But
is there is there a military installation around that area?
Not that I know of, but
these lights have been showing up for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh wow.
Just like the Marfa lights in Texas, it's the same thing. There's something there, but no one knows what it is. I mean, you're talking about something that's so old that the natives actually observed it and attributed legends to these, which is
they recorded it.
Amazing. So yeah, it's all happened, in multiple times, and we just have different names for this stuff. It's crazy.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to flip the script, and you are taking control of Wild and Weird Radio and get to direct us for a minute. What do you want to talk about, my friend?
Let's see. So if you guys, first off, do all three of you think that Dogman is real? I know Jess does 100% because she's got the amazing Hellbent Holler, but you guys are all pro Dogman, or what's the consensus on that?
Me personally, I'm pro. There's something.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's too much that I've seen evidence from Jessi that has shifted my. If you would have asked me before Jessi if I thought there was something like a Dogman out there, I'd have just said people were misidentifying Bigfoot. But Jessi and Joe have shown me evidence that has switched my persuasion. So now I'm leaning into it. It's something, and I actually I've shared this with them before, but like it seems to be that the Dogman phenomena, when you go looking for it, it looks for you back.
That's horrifying. But
And
it's very
and
true.
that truly is terrifying because you don't know what that is at that point. But it's something, and it's something there. Yeah, that's my take.
It's something that is completely different. It is the opposite of a Bigfoot, because Bigfoot usually doesn't typically, go looking for you, does it? This is something that seems almost in every case a malevolent. It does not. I don't hear any positive things with Dogman sightings. I haven't anyway. There's something there. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, it through well, like we didn't think it was anything when we first started kind of looking into it. We thought that it was kind of we went like looking for it on a lark almost. So when we went looking for it, things just started to accelerate. And then we've gotten the evidence we've gotten so far, which has been very, very shocking in some instances. And then with our last trip to the LBL to look into that, we thought we kind of debunked some stuff at first, and then the script kind of got flipped on us, and then with my next video that comes out is gonna kind of go into that a little more.
Okay.
But there's a lot of very, very weird stuff, and I can't explain any of it, and I'm not gonna try to put a narrative to it or anything like that. I actually believe, unfortunately, that this is a real thing.
Yeah, it's just the whole thermal video that you guys, came out with that's one of my favorite things that I've seen. Has there been this could get controversial, but
we love controversy.
all
Do
right.
it.
It's great. That's our show's wide open on it, man.
Is there a line is there a line that Wild and Weird, you guys talk about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Is there is there been an episode that's almost happened and you're like, we gotta shut it down, it's too crazy? And if it's because it's inappropriate and you can kind of skirt around the issue, but I'm curious, you literally seem like you talk about everything, but is there anything that
There's only been one episode in Wild and Weird history that did not get aired, and it is because something weird happened.
Something really weird happened. Yeah.
And we lost every ounce of audio that we had recorded.
Whoa.
Yep.
And so we cover literally any and all topics are inbounds. Because of that, I think it makes the show better because Jessi and Ron and I, we're three individuals. So we come at these topics with three individual approaches. And from that perspective, I think we're able to answer some of these questions, or at least, like you said, when you were listening to podcasts, there were a lot of questions that you wanted asked that didn't get asked. When it comes to something that one of us don't know about, we ask the questions that we would want to hear.
Right.
As a listener. So that kind of stuff comes in handy. Jessi, what do you think?
I think one of our episodes that I found to kind of skirt sort of like the line, not the line. What are the lines anyway? But what are these lines? So the one that kind of I felt could have the potential to be very controversial in one way or another was our hoaxes episode that came out recently.
Yeah.
Because we do, there's a tendency, and it's very important to be cordial with people, and it's very important to, be not, I wouldn't say welcoming to everybody in the field, but I think it's also important to acknowledge when something is awry and something is not quite right. So I think a lot of our discussion during the hoaxes episode was something that you wouldn't typically hear on a cryptid or Bigfoot podcast. A lot of people don't want to broach these more difficult subjects when it comes to hoaxing, or people who are presenting certain types of evidence or certain viewpoints that we find to be, that I find personally to be just BS. But I'm not afraid to say that. And I think that a healthy level of disagreement amongst people is really important. We can't all be, kissing each other's butts and saying, "Oh, you're so right about this. You're great. Yes, you're wonderful and great." We can't do that because we'll never get anywhere doing that. There has to be a healthy level of disagreement and discussion amongst people. And I think that's one positive, or we have a lot of positive things about what we do, but we're not afraid to broach these subjects, and we're not afraid to push back on, other people. We're also not afraid to push back on each other. I know that we disagree on a lot of things, we agree on a lot of things, but I think just not being afraid to push back on each other and having a real healthy just battle and healthy conversation and back and forth, I think that that's the best way to kind of hash out these ideas and hash out these possibilities. So that would be my big thing when it comes to something that would be kind of a controversial in a way.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're dead on. That
100%.
episode we walked that line, and I think we did it in the best way that we possibly could.
The worst episode I thought we were going to get killed on would have probably been the good, the bad, and the ugly.
When we beat the squash out of everything.
Yeah. That was an audio only, and it's still a really good episode. And we really got positive feedback for that, so that was really amazing. But yeah, we do address these things in the cryptid episode. We did. I thought we'd catch some flack on that. I mean, I pretty much debunked not deer, and I didn't get people
Yikes.
to. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
listen to the episode. You'll figure it out. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Aliens.
So he's not kidding. Like, this thing had the original story had missing Tom involved and electronics that were malfunctioning.
Yeah.
This was a contact experience in my book.
Yeah, I even swayed him. So
Yeah, he really did. Because I thought this whole thing was just BS, totally BS up and down.
But it's
But
not.
then when Ron got a hold of the actual official report and started comparing it to old notes on stuff, man, it rings true of a contact experience and not some weird cryptid.
He really upset the not deer wine mom contingent.
Dude,
Really
Not Deer
did.
is huge on TikTok. You know what else is huge on TikTok? Is the squonk community. Oh my.
Oh, we love the squonk.
So I do too, but I made like a sassy video about the squonk, and like I got 100,000 views on it, and people were ripped. I was like, guys, I really like the squonk. Like, settle down. It was
How
bad.
dare you?
It was bad, man. They love the squonk
my
in
goodness.
PA. The episode that you didn't, the recording issues. What was the subject of that episode?
Oh, we had the guy from the Minnesota Bigfoot festival. He
Oh yeah, Abel.
Yeah,
yeah.
we had Abel on, and
Okay.
something weird happened.
It's
We
a
had like
great
an hour and a half
episode.
reported, and it just like crashed. Like
It was a
everything.
great episode.
My copy scrubbed, gone, didn't exist. Ron's
Yes.
copy scrubbed, gone, didn't exist. Wayne's copy scrubbed, gone, didn't. It got erased on all three computers. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, it was after that when we decided to start backing everything up on the P4, and
Yeah.
that way
You
we've
used
got
two.
Oh,
yeah,
I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in case,
Just let me know when you want me to stop.
We got
Have fun.
roll.
roll.
All right.
I mean, we're
Yeah,
on.
keep
the
going. We got
50
about
some
10 more
mark.
minutes.
I'll
man.
do one more.
We got one more.
15 minutes left. Go for it.
So you have the ideas of, which I really like, of like going into the school system in West Virginia and like teaching the kids how to revitalize their community using paratourism. Is there any plan of like taking whatever curriculum you make and like making some sort of book-ish, or maybe you can't talk about it yet? Because I think that would be a really good idea if you guys could. But
That is actually something that we cannot quite talk about yet.
all right, cool.
We're gonna do the thing where Elizondo did pass.
Pass.
Yeah,
Is a non-answer an answer though?
yeah. So. All right, no further questions. Good answers, guys.
That's my case. So
All
I
right.
have a very important question, Jeremiah.
Okay.
It is Bigfoot Society. I noticed that on your logo, the Bigfoot has a monocle but no top hat. What kind of a society allows a Bigfoot with no top hat?
Ask Greg Morrill from All the Weird, because he's the guy who designed it. But that's interesting. He actually, I don't know if you saw it, but he made like an alternate logo a month or two ago, where it's
Yeah.
Van Meter Visitor Society, and it's like, I want to say it's got like a monocle, and it's like doing the whole like it's got the French cigarette, like it looks very, might even have a top hat. I can't remember, but yeah, I don't know why. Maybe Greg can do
I
Greg
would
can do it.
say
He's such a,
Bigfoot probably just lost it, man.
that's true.
He's going through the woods. He's running. He just fell off.
These
Monica
are the
Scott.
hard-hitting questions people are looking for, though.
It
These
That's
are the
right.
I'm
questions.
surprised no one else has asked that before, Jess. That was pretty good.
That's what we do, man. We ask the hard questions.
It's a hard question.
Right. Sure.
So I got a good hard one for you. There's a lot
All
of
right.
our listeners who are probably completely unfamiliar, just like we were when we first were introduced to it, to the Clubhouse app. Tell everybody a little bit about what you do on Clubhouse.
Well, so the Clubhouse app is a social media app where pretty much it is really weird. So it's all audio based, and you make your profile, but then you can make like little communities. And so it's cool though. It's kind of like, if you remember the whole back in the day where it's like you get on the party line on the phone. Not that I did this because I'm not old enough, but like your grandparents did that, right? So it's literally a thing where like we're making these rooms. I have a like cryptozoology, you say, club, and so you have these rooms and you're able to talk in real time using your phone with other people in the cryptozoology community, which you may like, we have all sorts of people hanging out in there. The cool thing is that you never know who's going to show up. Like I remember back in the early days, and this is like, just a year ago, but when we were first starting out, it was like me, Tate, so we'll say some other random people in the cryptozoology community. But so Rob Lowe comes in, like the actor Rob, because like he had that show.
Yeah, he's into
Right.
cryptozoology. That's like a hobby of his.
Right,
Yeah.
totally. So he's got a connection with certain people in the cryptozoology community. I won't name names, but there's a connection there. And
Yeah.
so that's how he heard about it. And like he came in, and we were talking about our favorite Bigfoot movies. And like literally, and this is before they were recorded. You couldn't record back then. And I'm like kicking myself about it. But like, so Rob Lowe is in talking about how he loves The Legend of Boggy Creek and why. And like, we're just hanging out with him for like, audio only, but like for 5 minutes. And it was just a really special time. And it's a thing where, I have done recorded audio versions of the rooms, and like Greg has done a really cool thing recently where he's created rooms where he did like a cryptozoology March Madness and had like people from different regions of the US like present their cryptid, which was really cool. We had like people like Alex Petikoff presenting a cryptid, Carrick St. Laurent, Ashers, you may know, myself, Nash Hoover, all sorts of people were involved. Lauren Smith from Night Callers, like, and it's a really cool time learning new things in a different way. And you never know who's going to show up. And like we've had people show up and share stories out of nowhere where it's like, I was in the military in Alaska and this Bigfoot was like chasing after our Humvee. And like, I've never shared this story before, but hey, I'll share it here. Or like, a Native American gentleman that was, sharing stories about that were passed down from his ancestors about, Sasquatch and skinwalkers and things of that nature. And it's just some really cool things have come out of it. I see is more like a community building thing. And, without that, there's a lot of relationships that would not exist. Right now, I like following people like Gary V, social media entrepreneurs, and like trying to see like the next thing I'm focusing on is TikTok, because that's where the organic reach is. Instagram is pretty much done with. But the stories, the sighting reports I get on TikTok are crazy, and it's just it'll blow your mind. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do, is I figure out the next platform and try to
Yeah, I'm fighting with TikTok myself
It's
right
weird.
now, just making videos and never posting them, just trying to learn how to edit on it and like get it down right, so that way we can start having a reach there. But it's weird, like you said, it's
because we're
weird.
old, Joe.
I know, right?
Yeah, you guys can do it. You guys can do it for sure.
Well, Jessi, before you take us home here, I want you to give us an update of how things have been going with the video that you premiered about the LBL Part 1. So give the listeners an update, and then give us an update of what's actually been going on with since the video's been released and how everything's been going.
I don't know if you're referring to anything in particular, but
no, just you posted the video up on Instagram talking about how appreciative and all that stuff, and just take the floor.
That video exploded. It did very, very well. It's still just cruising along. I got a ton of subscribers off of that, and my watch hours exploded. I've had so much interaction with people. I've had so many people get in touch with me. I've got my inbox is absolutely full with people telling me about encounters. But it has absolutely exploded. I made that video 24 hours after I released the video. I made the Instagram post, and what did I say? It was at 1,300 by 24 hours. Yeah, it's well over 5,000 right now. Views on that video.
That's fantastic.
So it's doing very well. It's really taken off, and my comment section is absolutely huge. Really pride myself on answering every person's comment, which is there's a few that are out there, but that's fine. And then also, people message me on Instagram, and people have been emailing me all kinds of encounter stories and all kinds of information. So I've met a lot of new people through that. And I think it was really nice to go on the We Like Shooting podcast that I went on like a couple months ago, because that opened up to a whole new audience of people. The possibility of cryptids. And so now I have some of those people contacting me, and it's really just growing in a really, really, really nice organic way. And so I still have part 2 that has to come out soon. So I'm in the process of working on that. So when that comes out, we'll see where this goes from there, because part 2 is got a lot of crazy stuff in it too. So, but
we absolutely cannot wait to see part 2. But I just want to let you know, Ron and I, when we were driving to that convention, we were just talking about how proud we were of everything you've got going on, and how proud we were of the way the video turned out and how well everything's going. And we cannot be possibly any more excited for you and
awesome.
Everything that has been happening with that video, because you deserve it. You went out there, you've been beaten foot, and you learned how to run the processing system for the to edit everything, and you had to restart so much after some mishaps, and you stuck with it, and you absolutely knocked it out of the mother loving park.
Thank you. I think my intro and my main title sequence is very 1980s John Carpenter. So
I like it.
That's where I went with that. But yeah, relearning an entirely new editing system to just do this video was a lot. It took me almost, and plus I have a full-time job too on top of this. Like you said, it doesn't pay the bills to do this. But it almost took me a month to just do that video, and it's an hour long. Just going through, because we have so many cameras, we have so much audio equipment, we have so much stuff. So it took me almost a month to do that video. So hopefully I can get this other one out, kind of cranking along, because I had to learn how to use the software all over again, because I had to use something new. So
yeah, guys, if you've watched this video, she had to learn that on the fly.
Yeah,
unreal.
Wow. And Joe and I watched some of our older videos, like you said, Jeremiah. You listen to your first 2 or 3 episodes, and you're like, oh my god, I have to delete these. But we were watching some of our earlier stuff, and we're both like, oh my god, this is terrible. The video quality is awful. This is bad. But we're like, okay, but look how far we've come. We've come so far in doing this. And it's all about getting started in doing this and taking that first step and getting started and being like, you know what, if these people can do it, I can do it too. It just, you can teach yourself. You can learn how to do anything online, and you can just take that first step and just keep hammering at it. And eventually, you know, if you keep hammering at it, and if you're interesting and you're passionate and you're committed, then it can go somewhere. And I think that's the best piece of advice I could ever give anybody.
That goes out to you, Mothlings, if you're listening.
That's right, Mothlings, by God. Absolutely. If you're listening to this episode, you guys stick with it. Or else.
Who are the Mothlings?
They're an amazing podcast that I've foreseen in the future that will be majorly huge.
Is it actual right now? Like they're doing stuff?
They're doing stuff right now, and they're great kids and absolutely phenomenal. So, so Jeremiah, where can everybody find you before we roll out?
So, let's see. If you go to a lot, Instagram, Instagram.com at Bigfoot Society, and then there's a link tree in that profile where
and we'll insert your link tree below in the comments for everybody on YouTube. That way, everything just click, find him easy.
Heck yes, yep. All major podcast platforms. Just search for Bigfoot Society, YouTube, Bigfoot Society. So
you can't not find it if you look for it.
Yeah, actually, I was testing it out today. If you just type in Bigfoot in your search bar, it was like the third or fourth.
Oh, that's good.
That shows
that's
up.
Cool. Nice.
So that was good.
Yeah, we were watching videos last night on YouTube. We were just like looking around at videos, and you type in Bigfoot in YouTube, and it's one of the like first things that come up.
That's awesome. That's
so
really
yeah, you are killing the old algorithm game with that. And like you said, you know, you go into other things other than Bigfoot. You go into cryptids, but you know. Bigfoot is always a gateway drug. So
it is. Yeah, sure is. Oh yeah.
Well, Jess, take us home. Jeremiah, it's been awesome having you on, brother.
Appreciate you so much, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this very special episode. Not an after-school special, just a very special episode of Wild and Weird Radio with our wonderful guest, Jeremiah Byron of Bigfoot Society. Bigfoot Society is an awesome, awesome podcast you have got to check out. He interviews everybody in the community of Bigfoot, everybody from artists to the top names in Bigfoot. His TikTok is blowing up. He's always there to give a lot of really cool information about all kinds of cryptids and all kinds of stuff that goes bump in the night. So make sure you check out all of his content across every platform. Just check out Bigfoot Society. If you're looking for me and my latest LBL video, which somehow has exploded, you can find me on YouTube under Hellbent Holler, hellbentholler.com, and at Hellbent Jessi on Instagram. You can find the guys from Wild and Weird West Virginia at wildandweirdwv.com. That's going to be Joe Perdue and Ron Lanham. On Instagram, you can find Joe at Skinwalker Sculpts and Ron at Lanham Ron. So make sure you check out those and check out the website wildandweirdwv.com for any information on upcoming events or upcoming projects. And the collective forum is live. Do not forget to join the collective and be a part of the conversation. You can also find everything. You can also find everything on Facebook, of course. There's still conversation going on there. So, thank you guys so much. We couldn't do it without you. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. And if you're listening to these podcasts on an aggregator of your choice, make sure, even if you're listening, to download it, because that helps us with listens. That helps move us up in the ranks. And we appreciate every little bit that you do for us, because we're here to do this weird and wild and crazy thing for you. So thank you again. Guys, you got anything else?
Remember, like, share, and subscribe to Bigfoot Society, Hellbent Holler, and Wild and Weird Radio, or else the Ovnik might come and burn your barn down,
Whatever.
or slash your tires, or open and shut doors, which if it's breezy outside, you don't want that. Stay wild and weird, everybody. Hey.